Welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. I'm your host, Bo Kennedy. Join us as we go face to face with what goes bump in the night.
That's a good one. There's more on the other side. They've got three little honeycombs. That was clearly a European beehive at one point, because to fix my fence, I had to shore up that beehive and that birdhouse from dragging it down. And I literally was holding the beehive house with my hand with my dad, and they were coming out, they were smelling us. And they'd just go back in, or they'd land on us for a minute and go back. It was no big deal. If you can go to the big one, that was those pictures were taken like right before. So my wife's like, "Hey, the beehive is getting out of control. I don't feel safe with it. Call somebody to get out here." And I have no clue how many bees there are, but all those little bumps there are bees.
Yeah, man.
So, you know, for a guy who wants his own homemade honey, I'm thinking this is great.
Right.
Well, it turns out this exponential growth of a hive was a killer beehive. So Chris has on his list, get up, mow the lawn, call the guy about the bees, and then do some other things. So I get up, I start mowing the lawn, and I get attacked by a couple bees. It's not uncommon. I'm around a hive that they sting, you know, you get stings. It happens. But it started becoming, you know, it wasn't like one or two and they fly off. It was pop, 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 pop. So I was like, okay, my dog's in the backyard. I'm mowing the lawn. I go in the house. I start dealing with the bees that are left on me. I look out the back window, and the whole hive, literally, and you can literally, it's like a cartoon. You know how they always show the cartoon of the bees chasing people, and there's that trail.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was, and they're going after my dog, and they're so thick around the dog, you can see them buzzing and darting and stinging him, and I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go get my dog, but clearly the whole hive is pissed. So I go out the front door, and I will tell you, this is when the mind of the battle-hardened paratrooper kicks in, because only somebody of that background, I think, could come up with this most idiotic plan you've ever heard of. I opened the gate and I started calling for the dog. Of course, the backyard is buzzing, so I know they're attacking him. He probably can't hear him. So I walk a little deeper into the backyard, because I'm still 10 foot tall and bulletproof in my mind.
Right.
I see the bees. They're just all over him. And they're literally, the cloud is across most of the backyard. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to run out to the dog, who's a good ways into the backyard, grab him by his collar, and then we'll run out the gate on the other side. So that's what I do. And I'm literally running this gauntlet, getting stung. I get over to the dog, I grab him, just jerk him. This is my white German Shepherd. I sent you a picture of that. And I jerk him to the gate. We go hauling to the gate because he's figured it out. And then I realize that gate isn't open because I didn't think this fully through. So, you know, I'm 5'10", I think I was 215, 220 at that pound. I've lost like 10 pounds. I just jump up, kick the gate open, we go through it. The bees are still following us, okay? They're still stinging me. I'm running down the street, and this is where things start, you know, this is where God starts talking to me. Because as I start running, I start realizing, you know, I've got lung damage from Iraq and Afghanistan and the sand and the dirt and crap. And so now I'm starting to have some shortness of breath. Only it's not the normal shortness of breath I'm used to. It's oppressive. Still being stung. Me and the dog are still being stung. So as I'm running, I'm like, oh, this is bad. I got to get through this. The first thing that comes to my mind is, how old are you?
I'm 40.
Okay, so I'm a little bit older than you. Do you remember Ranger Rick, little magazine we used to have in school?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm running, and that's probably about how bad it sounded, only probably not as fast. And Ranger Rick, there's this picture, you know, it's clearly Ranger Rick and his little bubble talking about honeybees. And they're like, you know, he's like, did you know a honeybee can't fly in the rain because one drop of water makes him too heavy to fly? So now, because I'm thinking on the go, I'm like, okay, I need to find a hose, right? Because I'm not gonna be able to keep going at this pace. I'm already starting to, like a freight train kind of roll to a stop. You know, I'm starting to run out of gas, starting to get bad, and I'm literally running through people's yards, and it's almost a tenth. It's about just over a tenth of a mile from my house to the stop sign at the corner. So it's a good little ways. I'm more than halfway down the street before I find somebody who's got a garden hose, because it's summertime in Texas and you can only hand water.
Right.
So I go out there. At this point, I'm not quite at a zombie walk, but I'm pretty effing close. I pick up the hose and I spray it, and it's on like full jet turbo blast, like single shot. So I change it out to a, you know, how you can make it go out to a big circle.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I turn around to look at the bees, which is literally a cloud. It's this massive swarm of black and yellow, and it's like all I could hear since I left the house was buzzing. Yeah. I'm still being stung. So I start spraying at them as they're coming at me, and they're literally flying into the water and dropping like sheets. Like that's,
oh my gosh.
That is the moment I realized, like, this is a ton of bees, because as they were just dropping in sheets, they're still flying over me and stinging me. And I was, you know, holding my ground as I've been trained to do, hysterically, but eventually I got to a point where I'm starting to black out, right? So it's like, okay, this isn't going good. I finally collapse on the ground, go for my cell phone, start trying to call 911. So I'm still running the sprayer, you know, holding the water, and I'm laying there in the grass. And as a paratrooper, I can tell you, I have a ton of respect for the honeybees, because these dudes were on a mission, right? They were so heavy they couldn't fly, but I'm looking at, I don't know, a couple hundred crawling through the grass at me still, you know, just unrelenting. It's like worse than the fire ants in South Georgia. It's just, it's ominous because it's like, I'm impressed, but at the same time, this isn't going to end well.